Hello everybody, my name is Lerma and I'm going to talk about how artists engage into social commentary of their music and their arts and their respective arts and forms. So music does have a positive and also a negative effect. They kind of have in between both of them. It just really depends on the song and what they say and what they're trying to mean. For example, one of the artists that's very controversial in a lot of ways is Tupac Shakur. Mostly everybody knows about him. He's one of the OG, gangsters, West Coast, that performs a lot in the hip hop industry. So, for example, one song that addresses a lot about social issue, well, it kind of has a positive message, but in some kind of social issue. It's very popular. It's called Dear Mama. One of Tupac's, I think is one of amazing song. We all usually think of Tupac as a big top dog gangster or Crip, but with that song, Dear Mama, it kind of steps back a little about his mom, about a little bit about his childhood and what he did, and but it talks about mostly about his mom and him, not just directly his mom, but it's just for all the people who well, that's the social issue about that song, that it talks about a lot about how him has been going up alone with his mom, going through all the trouble with his mom, facing all these issues while having another parent, which was his dad, that was never there to support him. So I guess the social issue today is the economic hardship, the racism, and sometimes the challenge that a single parent can handle. That's kind of what it shows as a social issue. The performer does show a little bit about, or shows a lot actually, the force and how a mother plays a role into his life and how it affected him positively. Even though his father was never there, her mom was a big life impact to him that made him become the man he was meant to be as a, besides as a gangster, but also, a man, right? So the role of this song, of the reception and the song of message, well, yeah, that's basically what I meant. The commercial aspect, music business of this song. So basically, Tupac has sold a lot of records with the song. He's part of Death Row, and thanks to that song, it kind of impacted a little the hip hop industry with that. So yeah, so in a lot of way, it does show a lot of popularity when it comes to listening to Tupac with the songs, with his meaningful messages and social issues to connect with people who are also facing economic hardships and single parenting. And does art have the power to change mind? Yes, it does. Especially when it comes with his music. That's the reason why Tupac is he's so really famous for his songs and what he tries to say to the people. You have some songs that he has that are like, oh yeah, it talks about gangs and violence and corruption and stuff like that, or the police. It talks about all those type of stuff that you might say, well, this song is not really appropriate, right, for an audience. But when a lot of people listen to it, there's a connection between the people who live in poverty. There's a connection between the people like Dear Mama who are single parents who don't have the other support. There's people that also connect with him living through the struggle every day. So, one of the main influence I would say is Tupac Shakur. Even though we see him as a gangster, as a rapper, or a lot of people picture him as a gangster, as a rapper, he's still trying to represent his meaning and soul into the music. So yes, I do believe, like Tupac, he is engaged with the social commentary in the music and respective to his creativity, his words, his mind, his thinking, his representation of arts and forms.